somebody called, but nobody checked on this guy. Like, he was laying face down using the curb as a pillow. Like, nobody had thought to go check on this guy to see if he needed medical help and just thought to call the police. Like, what? What is up, you guys? Welcome back. If you're new, we're so happy to have you. My name is Morgan. I try to put out videos every Thursday. By the time you guys are seeing this video, we're going to be a couple days late. I had originally planned to film a video kind of explaining my heart condition and how that affects me, because I have been feeling much better. Keyword had been, actually, but unfortunately, the last couple days have been a little bit rough, and I really felt as though I needed another week to kind of prepare that video to kind of get all the information in order before I really sat down and got really vulnerable with you guys about my health situation. So I kind of had to regroup and planned another video, and so I sat down and kind of thought about the kind of things that have been going on recently, and thought about the time where by the title of this video, when my CPR training really became helpful when I used it. So let me preface by saying I didn't actually get to the point where I needed to start compressions. A little bit of backstory. So I live in this apartment complex that is right behind a major grocery store in the town in which I live. It's big, and unfortunately I live in a town. It's a city. It's a smaller city, but it's still a city. I really love the town in which I live, but the homeless population is kind of a problem, and they're all very friendly. I've never had an issue with them normally, but the drugs each year are beginning to become kind of a problem. So let's just preface there. A couple months ago, I was in class, and for reasons in which I'll get into next week, I had fainted in class. So my teacher had sent me home, but unfortunately, because at this point in my life, I was fainting so frequently, the doctor thought it would be best if I didn't drive. There's a couple months there where my friend, shout out to her, was driving me around. We left school, and the thing about where my school is, it's only about 4 miles away from where I live. So we took back roads in and called my husband and said, hey, like, can you get the baby? I'm just gonna go home. I'm gonna take a nap. Didn't work out that way. So we come in the back way and pull in, and we're talking, whatever. I'm kind of out of it. I'm kind of on my phone, and we pull through the parking lot. And a couple seconds later, my friend looks at me and she goes, did you see someone just laying face down in the road? On the sidewalk? Like, what? And so she turns around and she like pulls a little U-ey here, and we go back. Sure enough, there is a guy laying face down, not moving, doesn't seem to be breathing, just completely still, look knocked out on the ground, using the curb as a pillow. Like, so, you know, like there's the like the parking lot, and then there's like that little, like, it's gonna hit me as soon as I stop filming what that's called, but like so when you drive and you hit, there's like that little curb to make sure that you don't drive up onto the regular curb, like the barrier. He was using that as a pillow, so he's just face down, like, look, and this guy looked beat up, like his knuckles were really bloody, his face was bruised, he looked like he'd been in a brawl. So I get out of the car, and my training immediately kicks in. So I'm a student medical assistant, so I'm not really trained to provide much assistance, but if it's one thing I'm certified in, like, I'm not certified, I don't have my license yet, but I am certified in CPR and first aid. I get out of the car and tell my friend to get ready to call 911, just in case. So I bend down. So I run around the car and I bend down to talk to this guy, and I say, excuse me, sir. And I kind of like, I'm careful not to touch him for the first time, because I don't really know how he's gonna react, because this guy looks like he's passed out. And no response, nothing, no movement. He doesn't blink, he doesn't open his eyes, he doesn't do anything. I'm like, okay, like, so I gently, like, I shove him. I'm like, excuse me, sir. Still nothing. I say, my name is Morgan. Do you need medical help? Nothing. I'm like, okay. So at this point, I look over. I said, he is unresponsive. I say to my friend, He's unresponsive. Call 911, say that we need help. We live at ABCD and Lane and we need help. So she gets on the phone and so something you need to know about me is I have really cold hands, and all this is tied into what I'm going to talk about next week, but my hands are always freezing. I have really poor blood circulation. Okay, and so I'm like, I need to check his pulse. I need to check his pulse, and then I need to flip him over, and I need to start compressions, because at this point I'm assuming that he's not breathing. So I bend over, and he had like this backpack on that at this point was up around his neck because he was like laying down, and so everything was like shoved up. And so I like kind of pull his backpack down a little bit, and I put my fingers on his neck to check his pulse, see if he's alive. And I go to check his pulse, and his eyes pop open. When I say that this guy scared the bejesus out of me, like I yelped, because I was 100% certain that this guy needed CPR because he was not moving at all and didn't obviously look to be breathing. So his eyes pop open. I was unprepared. So I yelp a little bit. I'm like, okay, can you tell me your name? Like trying to get this guy talking, because he's obviously very out of it, because he opens his eyes and he just kind of blinks at me. Slow blinks, eyes glaze over, his eyes are dilated, and just the look in his eyes, like he looks like he's just strung out. He honestly, to this day, I am pretty sure that this guy overdosed. And so I'm bent over him, I'm trying to talk to him, trying to get him talking, trying to get him alert, trying to get any sort of information out of him so that way I can keep him with us until help gets there. So I'm trying to talk to him, trying to get answers out of him, trying to get any sort of information. So I ask him what his name is, and I don't really remember. I don't actually know if he gave me his name. He kept telling me that like he didn't want to get like involved, like just go, this wasn't my business to go, like what's in it for me. I told him nothing's in it for me. I'm honestly just trying to make sure that you're okay and that you get the help that you need. Let's call him Joe. So Joe is at this point kind of like becoming a little bit more aware. He's not making any sort of sense. He is floating in and out of English and Spanish, but neither one is making a coherent sentence. So I'm trying to get a little bit more from him. I ask him again his name. I ask him like, where do you think that you are right now? Where do you need to be? Where were you going? Like kind of like just keep him talking. So he told me that he was supposed to be like somewhere like 2 towns over, like out on the island. And he goes, where am I? He had absolutely no clue. I said, like, you're not here, you're behind this grocery store off of this road. And he goes, oh, I'm in the ghetto. I'm like, no, like not really. Do you know where you are? He goes, I have no idea. So he had no idea where he was. He had no idea where he was going. He said that he just recently moved here. He said that he was staying with his sister. And for his privacy, I don't really want to go too in depth here. Not that I got much information from him, but he said that he was staying with his sister and he just moved here. Once I can kind of get him to piece together a couple sentences. And I'm like, well, does your sister live here? And he goes, well, I'm not getting my sister into this. She's done nothing wrong. Like, you just need to leave. I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not going back to jail. You're not going back to jail? So at this point, I realize that he's obviously, like, he'd done some drugs, he'd done something that he shouldn't have, and he's scared of the repercussions. Like, no, like, I'm not trying to get you into trouble, I'm just trying to get you somewhere where you can sleep it off. Does your sister live here? And still he's adamant that he doesn't want to drag his sister into this. His sister's done nothing wrong. I'm like, that's not my intention, but whatever. He goes, I'm just not trying to be a insert curse word of your choice, because he used them all, but you need to leave. I said, I will leave if you want me to leave, but you don't seem as though you can take care of yourself. And he goes, no, yeah, you're probably right. And he goes, I don't want to scare you. I'm like, okay. He goes, I don't want to scare you, but I'm gonna stand up. I'm like, okay, would you like help? No, I got it. So he goes, I'm gonna get up really fast. I think his intention was to run away. I'm gonna get up really fast. I don't want to scare you because I'm not going to hurt you. I'm like, okay, I'll back up. And so I backed up, and this guy's idea, because he was so belligerent and so strung out on something, his idea of getting up quickly was to heave himself off the ground, use the car next to him, that was not his, to like anchor himself, and then stand up, and then stumble around. I study him, and I'm still talking to him, and my friend's still on the phone with 911, who said that, oh, somebody called. Like, so they knew exactly what we were talking about. They knew that he was in the apartment complex behind the grocery store. They knew that he was there, and they said that somebody had called about 20 minutes to a half hour ago, and that somebody was on their way. And to wait about 20 more minutes, because it's not like, oh, it's just another so-and-so strung out on whatever. And I'm like, so you mean that nobody came to this guy's aid? Like, I had assumed that he was not breathing and had jumped out of my car. I understand that I'm trained as a healthcare professional, and I'm trained to go towards situations like that, not to run away. I'm trying to help somebody. But if I pray to God that if I am passed out face down, that somebody doesn't assume that it's from drugs and that I need help. And instead of just calling 911, which yes, thankfully they did, instead of just calling 911, that they go to see if I need help, to see if I need CPR, to see if I need immediate medical attention, because the fact that this guy, nobody came to check on this guy is appalling to me, because he needed help. So she's on the phone with a 911 operator, and they said, like, they should be there soon, we've sent somebody. I'm like, okay, fine. So we're still trying to keep this guy with us, because at this point he's trying to leave, and he's very unsteady on his feet, and he looks like he's gonna fall over any minute. So I tell, he goes, I'm fine. Yes, I get that you're fine and that everything's good, but can you please sit down before you fall down? And he goes, yeah, I think that's a good idea. So he sits down again, and we're talking, and at this point he goes, like, what's in this for you? Like, he keeps going back to that. Like, this guy couldn't have had an easy life, because everything that I did for him, and I didn't do much. I just offered him help, handed me his phone, asked me to call his sister, who, let's say her name was Marie. So he goes, call Marie, because I did not offer to drive this. I had the good sense to not offer to drive this guy anywhere. But he needed to go somewhere. And he was getting ready to leave. And I'm like, well, if you're gonna leave, then at least, like, let me call somebody for you. So he gave me his phone and said, call Marie. I call Marie. And I'm like, I'm here with your brother Joe, and he doesn't really seem to know where he is. He said that he is trying to get to you, that he's staying with you, and he needs somebody to come get him. She goes, okay, like, let me call back. I'll see if I can get somebody to get him. She asked where he was. She goes, I live on the island. I have no idea how he got here, how he got there, and I have no way of going to get him. So let me call around. I'll call back. So I hang up with Marie, and this guy looks like he's about to pass out again. And so I say, like, you feeling okay? And he goes, like, no, not really. It was insanity. But at the time I was just kind of going on my instincts and what kind of felt right in that moment. And so at this point I was able to kind of string together was that he and his cousin wanted to party, and he left his sister's house to hang out with his cousin, and they got into some sort of altercation. He said that he'd been drinking. He said that I never got out of him that he'd done any drugs. I mean, it doesn't really matter because I don't keep a extra syringe of Narcan in my car, so it's not like I could, even if I was sure if it was an overdose, it's not like I could really help him that way. I never really got out of him whether or not he'd done drugs. I was trying to get as much information out of him so that way once the paramedics got there that I could give them the necessary information. So he had gotten some sort of altercation with his cousin. I'm assuming, I mean, you know what they say about assumptions, but I'm assuming over alcohol or drugs or something, and he said that he'd gotten in a fight and that they had proceeded to drink some more to talk about it, and that he had passed out. And he said he called his cousin a couple curse words. He goes, he just left me here. He knows I don't know where I am. Like that so-and-so. At this point, getting a little bit aggressive. And I said, like, I'm like, I just need you to calm down. The help is coming. And he goes, I don't need any help. And so thankfully at this point, because he's starting to piece together that we've called 911. So he is starting to get a little bit agitated. At this point, I look around the corner and thank God, I see two cop cars and a aid car. They pull around the corner. They park next to us. And the paramedic comes over and asks us what happened, like why we stopped, kind of what happened, any sort of information that we give them. And he explained to them that he was completely unresponsive when he got there, and I prepared for CPR, and I checked for his pulse, and he woke up. Like what I just told you, we went over that. And the cop comes over, and so Washington State, which is where I live, has this thing that's called the Good Samaritan Law, which essentially means that if somebody is in distress and they need help, you can call 911. And even if you're like partying with them, let's say like you're underage and you're drinking with a friend and your friend passes out and is in need of medical attention, you can call 911 to receive first aid for them and to get help without fear of repercussions. Like neither one of you are going to get an MIP, which is a minor in possession, because your friend needed help and you got your friend help. Washington is a Good Samaritan state, and so when I called for him, like I knew that he wasn't going to get into any trouble. So the police came to perform a welfare check. And he goes, are you feeling okay? Like, have you done any drugs? And the guy goes, no, like I'm not high, I'm not drunk, I haven't done anything wrong. But back up, this guy, God, this poor guy, like you can tell he's had a hard life, because the cop comes over, and he did, it shouldn't matter, but unfortunately in our society it does. The individual, Joe, was a man of color, and the cop came over, and Joe got up and immediately put his hands out like this, like for cuffs, because he wanted to show that he wasn't a threat, because he didn't want the cop to view him as a threat. Is assuming that at this point he's getting arrested. And this cop was so nice. He goes like, no, like you're not getting arrested. We're just here to get you some help. You seem like you need help. Like, are you okay? And the guy goes, yeah, no, I'm fine. Again, still slipping in and out between a couple different languages. And he goes, okay, the cop goes, okay, then I'm gonna leave because you're not getting arrested today. You're not in any legal trouble, but I would like you to talk to the paramedics. And so the cop pulls us aside, talks to us, asks us what happened again, thanks us for stopping, because this guy obviously, like he was in distress, and thanked us and left, because this guy wasn't in any legal trouble. So at this point now, we're talking, there's like 3 or 4 paramedics. 2 paramedics were talking to Joe, and another paramedic was talking to us. The 2 paramedics that were talking to Joe were like trying to get some vitals from him, very gently just trying to get some information to see if he needed to go to the hospital, which, spoiler alert, he did. And the other paramedic was talking to us. And at no point in this whole interaction with Joe did I realize or really think, because he didn't come across as really super aggressive, he just seemed disoriented. So when the paramedic, I didn't piece together that we may have been in any actual danger until the paramedic was talking to us and asked us what happened. I gave him the rundown, and he goes like, thank you for stopping. You did a service to the community, you really helped this guy, but you need to leave. Like why, like I would just kind of like stick through, like at this point I'm invested, I'm really worried about Joe, I want to know that he's gonna be okay. And he goes, no, because at this point, like, he seems to be getting aggressive, and we need you to go so that way we can do our job and we're not worried about you two. Okay. He goes, yeah, no, like thank you for stopping, but why nobody else did was probably because they were worried that he was going to get aggressive, because he was obviously like passed out, and just in the area in which I live, it was just kind of assumed that it was drugs. We don't really know what's happening, so my friend and I load back up in the car and pull out of the apartment complex, and at this point, I'm not super worried, but because where he was passed out in the parking lot, like this, like I can see exactly where he was. So he, like, direct line, they all could see where I lived if we went straight home. So just to be safe, especially because I have a young child and all the things, so we can never be too safe in this area, in my neighborhood. So we pull out, we go around, we go into that grocery store parking lot and sit there for like not even 2 minutes, like just like a minute, and then we turn around and come back. Because I'm like, at this, like, he's probably fine. Like, it's fine. So we come back, and I'm assuming that they loaded him up and took him to the hospital, because in that short time, everybody was gone. Like, the police was gone, the paramedics were gone, Joe was gone, and so I'm assuming they loaded him up in the car, in the aid truck, and took him to the hospital, which is also down the street. I live next to a grocery store and down the street from a hospital, so that's pretty convenient. Yeah, it was crazy. That was probably the only time. I mean, I'm very early in my career. I haven't even graduated college yet, but it was amazing to kind of experience my training just kicking in, and just immediately I knew what to do. I knew how to help him and delegated a task, and we split when we stuck in our roles, and which is how it should be. It was a crazy experience, but it's good to know that I'm learning, and really glad we were able to help that guy. I hope he got the help that he needs, and I'm hoping that he's doing okay. So that's about it. Thank you for watching. This is probably going to be a little bit lengthier of a video. Like I said, I'm sorry that I was a couple days late, but I have a video planned next week where I get pretty vulnerable with you guys and kind of explain what's been going on. I just had a whole bunch of job interviews for my practicum placement. So big things are coming my way, which means there's going to be a lot of big things on my channel. So stay tuned for that. If you like my content, please make sure that you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and as always, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. Leave a comment. Let me know whether you liked this video. Let me know if you want me to do any more story times. This was really kind of fun. It was fun to just kind of sit down and talk. So let me know if you like that, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys. Pause, there's somebody walking outside my window. We'll just wait.